ওকে বিক্রম,
হ্যাঁ স্যার বলুন।
আচ্ছা পবিত্র কি আছে ক্লাসে?
স্যার দেখছি দাঁড়ান।
বিক্রম, বিক্রম
ইয়েস স্যার।
তোমার মোবাইল নাম্বারটা বলো তো।
কার?
তোমার
9064
9064
18
18
5509।
5509। ঠিক আছে, তুমি পবিত্রের সঙ্গে আজকে ক্লাসের অ্যাটেন্ডেন্সটা তুমি রেখো, পবিত্রের সঙ্গে কোঅর্ডিনেট করো, কেমন?
ওকে স্যার।
নাও Shobhik, section B, are you there? He is not there.
স্যার আমি নিয়ে নিচ্ছি তাহলে অ্যাটেন্ডেন্সটা।
নিলয়,
ইয়েস স্যার।
নিলয় তোমার মোবাইল নাম্বারটা বলো।
স্যার 9062
9062
12
12
73।
73।
ইয়েস স্যার।
হ্যাঁ
05
05। ওকে ওকে ওকে। So let us start the class, okay? So we had already covered trace analysis. We discussed method of joints, we discussed method of sections, and today we will be taking up torsion. Can you hear me, students?
Yes, sir.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Can I make my present, sir? Krishna Bor 155 roll number, section B.
Krishna Bor, what?
Can I make my present, sir?
Can I?
Sir, present টা দিয়ে দেবেন একটু।
Present তো তুমি কোন section?
Section B.
Section B, Niloy Ghosh will take the attendance, don't worry.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Now see, today we will start torsion. Now see, torsion is a moment which is vectorially parallel to the member on which it acts. Now, can you see the screen? Students, can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. See, this book of Subramaniam I have already shared with you. Now, say this is a bow girder. This is called a bow girder, BOW girder. This is a beam which is carved in plan. This is a beam which is carved in plan, means if you take a top view, then you will see that it is a perpendicular beam. It is this member is horizontal and this member is also horizontal. Now length AB, that is basically L1. This is a misprinting. This will be L1, and member BC, that is L2, and we have a vertical force P acting at the tip C. Now if you really look at the member CB, I'm telling CB, I'm not telling BC, because I'm approaching the beam or the bow girder from C, then through B up to A. Now this B is going to create a shear in the member CB, and it will create a cantilever bending moment which will be 0 at C, and at B it will be a hogging moment which is equal to PL2. So you have a constant shear P and a bending moment which is linearly varying, which is 0 at C, and at B the value is PL2. Is it clear? Now when you take the free body diagram of AB, what we do is when we transfer a load from one point to another point, the load itself goes, and the moment which the load creates about this point, that moment will also go. I'm repeating, the effect of load at a point is the load itself and the moment at some other point. So the effect of load P at C is the load P at B and a moment which is equal to P into CB at B. Do you understand? Do you understand, students?
Yes, sir.
More.
Huh?
Can you repeat again, sir, please? Please, sir.
I'll repeat. Okay. I'll repeat. I'm repeating. Say you are standing with your hand horizontal, okay? You are standing with your hand horizontal. Try to imagine. Now I am putting some books on your hand. So I am putting a vertical load. That particular load you will feel at your shoulder. So the load has come to the shoulder. Effect about the shoulder. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So when you transfer the load P from C to B, then the load itself goes, P, that load goes. And in addition to that, a moment which is equal to P into CB, that moment also goes. Now, if you go back to your higher secondary days, where you used to denote torsions by straight line vectors, by applying your right hand corkscrew rule, then do you appreciate that this MB vector which they have written, that I do not agree, I am not in favor of this sort of notation. Do you agree that MB would be a vector which will act at B and in the right direction? Do you agree? Try to conceive. The load P, the moment that it creates about B, that is basically an anti-clockwise moment if you look from B towards A. Do you agree or not? Hello?
Yes, sir. It is anti-clockwise, but in the figure it is clockwise.
Yeah. So, and that notation is incorrect. Don't go by that notation. But it is anti-clockwise. And moreover, if you rotate it, then you will get what? You will get a vector which will be acting at B, but in the direction AB, towards right. Is it clear?
Yes.
If you come here, this is how we denote a moment by a vector sign. Do you agree? Do you agree? This is a member, this is a cantilever member. If you have a clockwise torsion acting at the tip, then it will be denoted by a double arrow vector towards the member. Are you convinced? Are you convinced? You please go back to your class 12 days when you studied electromagnetic induction, etc., etc. Effect of magneton current, like that.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, that bending moment which was there at B when the member CB was considered, that becomes a torsional moment at B when the member BA is considered. Are you convinced? The same moment which was a bending moment in the member CB is a torsion moment when you take the member BA. Is it clear? Okay. So if you draw the shear force diagram of member BA, then the same shear force P will continue. If you draw the bending moment diagram, that will P into L1 because this P gets transferred here, that into L1. And you have a constant torsion acting here, which was P into L2. The moment which was a bending moment at B when member CB was concerned is a torsion moment as B when the member BA has been considered. Is it okay? Okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Fine, fine. Now, this is an example where you want to draw a torsion moment diagram, like a bending moment diagram or a shear force diagram. Now, these notations, as I told, that I really do not agree to. The clockwise torsion that they have shown at E, that should have been basically be denoted by a double arrow acting towards the left. Are you convinced? If at E a clockwise torsion acts, then if you denote it vectorially, it will be acting towards the left. You please tell me if you are convinced or not.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Now then, so that is there, okay? Now the torsion which has been applied at the point D, that will be a torsion vector which will be acting towards right. Are you convinced?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now again the torsion, the concentrated torsion which is applied at C, that will be towards the left, and at B that will be towards right. Okay. Now to develop the torsion moment diagram, you have to initially choose a direction which is positive. There is no hard and fast rule that which direction you will take positive, but once you assume a particular direction positive, you cannot deny it. You cannot overrule it in that particular problem. So if you assume that the torsional vector acting towards left is positive, if you assume, then at E, what will be the torsion? Plus 40 or minus 40?
Plus 40.
Yes, because you have assumed that the torsion vector acting towards left is positive. Okay. Then you start walking from E to go to D. And at D, you meet a torsion vector which is 25 kilonewton meter acting towards right. So just when you cross point D, what will be the torsion moment vector value? You tell me. 25 is plus or minus?
So minus.
You are correct. So the torsion value drops down to 40 minus 25, that is 15. Okay.
Sir,
Then
I have
you-
a question.
Yes, sure.
Sir, if at point D and point E the torques are acting in opposite directions, then the rod will get like tighter, right? In the torsion will increase. Then why it is subtracting?
Please repeat the question.
Sir, the things are acting. The torques are acting in the opposite direction. The part D should squeeze more tightly.
Hmm.
Then why at D is it getting subtracted? Like I understood the positive and negative, like 40 minus 25 is 15.
Now it is getting subtracted because the value 15 is is for the portion DC. Now when you come to portion DC, you have a clockwise torsion at E and an anti-clockwise torsion at D, and therefore the portion DC will be subjected to the net effect. Na?
Okay, sir. Understood.
So as you gradually go to section C, the torsion 30, that will be again acting towards the left, which is positive.
Yes.
So 15 plus 30, 45, the again torsion value increases and then decreases. So this is the final torsion diagram, torsion moment diagram. And if somebody asks you that what is the support torsion, the support torsion will be 20 kilonewton meter. Okay. Now, if you come here, same thing, very easy. This is an anti-clockwise torsion for this particular problem. If you assume that anti-clockwise torsion means the torsion vector will be acting towards right. So if you think that you will take as negative, you do that, no issue. So minus 80 is there, then again another anti-clockwise. So minus 80 minus 120 is minus 200. If you just reverse your sign convention, there will be no problem as well. Now, if you really come to the derivations related to torsion, I will just give you a simple example. I mean, because the derivation in the book is given in a bit complicated way. So it's better that you look to my notes. See, you take a shaft which is fixed here and which is free here. And when you apply a torsion, the line 1 comes to the line 2 along the periphery. And therefore the shear strain is phi, because you know shear strain is nothing but the angular distortion. Now, if you really look at the cross section of the shaft, then you will see that this particular line has come down here. So the angular shift here is theta, which is called the angle of twist. So the angular change along the length of the shaft is called the shear strain, and the angular change in the cross sectional plane is called the angle of twist. Now, if you remember that this phi and this theta, they are basically very small. So these arc length can be assumed as a straight length, and you can assume that L is the length of the shaft. L into phi is this amount, and capital R is the radius of the shaft, and R is any general radius. So capital R into theta, these two will be equal. The amount by which the periphery rotates from position 1 to position 2, that you can get from 2 points of views. One is from shear strain point of view and another from angle of twist point of view, and they will be of the same magnitude. L phi will be equal to R theta. So from there you can get that phi is equal to R theta by L. Now, this maximum shear strain at the periphery, that is proportional to R. So the shear strain at any radius small r will be small r theta by L. The maximum shear strain at the periphery will be R theta by L, and the shear strain at any level will be small r theta by L, which is shear strain at the level R, generalized R. It is not phi into R, it is phi suffix R. Now, once you get the shear strain at that level, then you can of course multiply by the shear modulus, the shear strain value, to get the shear stress. So this is the shear stress value, and if you put the small r equal to capital R, then this tau becomes tau max. So tau by R, that becomes g theta by L. And if you put small r equal to capital R, then tau becomes tau max. So this is one relation. Now, if you look at the resisting torque, because from distance r you go a small distance dr, then this is the elemental area dA. So dA, this area is basically, if you multiply dA with tau, then you will get the shear force which will be acting tangentially on this surface. And if you integrate that thing from 0 to R, then you will of course get the total resisting torque. Now, if you get the total resisting torque, that is capital T, and dA is basically the entire strip area. I mean, dA is not only this part, dA is basically 2 pi r into dr, okay? Because the shear strain that varies from 0 at the center up to maximum here. So the shear stress that will vary from 0 at here up to tau max here. So all the points which are small r away from the center, they will be subjected to the same shear stress value. So the elemental area will be 2 pi small r into d small r, that into tau will give the shear force. That will give the shear force, and that multiplied by the radius again, that will give the torsional of the resistance of the shear force about the center. And that, if you integrate from 0 to capital R, then you get the torsional resistance of the entire section. And for equilibrium, that torsional resistance of the entire section must be equal to the applied torque. Now, this integral r squared dA, this term is called the polar moment of inertia and is denoted by the letter J. So you get a formula. This is T, capital T. So capital T by J is g theta by L. And here, tau by R was again g theta by L. So finally, we get that g theta by L is equal to T by J and tau by R, which is equal to tau max by capital R. A very, very analogous relationship. Seshri ma'am has taught you bending of beams. She has started. Sigma by y equal to m by I equal to E by R. Have you learned this? Hello? Okay, she will teach you. Because this relation which you have got for torsion, you will get an analogous relationship for bending as well. Okay? Now, if you come here, this portion I've already told you, so it's better not to study from here. Now, if you please take your pen. Please take your pen and paper. So polar moment of inertia is integral 0 to r squared dA. So r dA is 2 pi r into dr. Is it clear? dA is 2 pi r into dr. So please integrate it. 2 pi r into dr into r square 0 to r. Please integrate it.
Why at theta 4 by
Sir, pi to r power 4 by 2.
Have you got the result?
Pi to r power 4 by 2.
Find to r to the power, yeah.
Pi.
Pi r to the power 4 by 2, huh? This result,
Yes.
which is pi d to the power 4 by 32. Okay, no issue. So this is the polar moment of inertia, and if you have a hollow shaft whose external diameter is capital D, inner diameter is small d, then this is the value. Okay, this is the value. So if you come to this problem where you have the
Sir, should we practice the derivation of those?
yes, of course. For me, two things are always true. One is I never give I never set any question that I have not taught. And the second is I can give anything that I have taught. So you should learn it. Now see, if you have a torque like this and the permissive stress is this thing, then they have told that find the diameter of a solid shaft and find the dimensions of a hollow shaft if the thickness is 10% of internal diameter. This problem is basically a very good problem because you will come to know and feel that why practical shafts are normally hollow shafts. So permissible shear stress is this thing. This is the torque value. You know T by J equal to tau by R. T by J equal to tau by R. And so you can get the radius as 55 mm. Okay, 54 mm you got after solving. But when you practically fabricate something, you normally make it multiple of 5 or 10. So you can suggest 55 millimeter. Okay. Now, if you go by hollow shaft, see, you know, the external, the outer, if the internal diameter is D, then the outer diameter will be D plus 0.2 D because, you know, that will be, the thickness is 10% of the internal dia. So the external diameter will be 10% this way, 10% that way. In this way, if you can solve, then by equating to the maximum shear stress, you will get D equal to 111, say 115, and the outer diameter, whatever it comes, you just round it up, you get 140. Okay. Is it clear to you, my students?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Now you, yeah. Now you tell me that if this is 55 mm solid shaft, please calculate the cross sectional area, pi by 4, pi r square. Pi r square you calculate. And here also calculate, this is diameter, okay. Pi capital D square minus small d square by 4. You calculate. Please get the two areas.
The 55 mm was diameter.
Sorry?
55 mm is diameter, right?
Was it diameter? No, it's radius.
9498.5.
This one. This one.
Millimeters.
Yeah, this one is
9498.5.
9498. Okay. Here, just get the net area. Pi d to the power 4 by 4. That is capital D to the power 4 minus small d to the power 4. What it comes to?
Sir, near about 5,000.
Hmm?
Sir, near about 5,000.
Okay, very good. So which area is more, you tell me? Solid shaft or out of the hollow shaft?
Solid.
Yes.
Solid.
Okay, so which design is economical?
The second one.
Yeah. I follow, yes. Have you understood? Yeah, hollow is more economical. Okay. So this is what I want to tell you. That why hollow shaft is used, that you will come to know by this small problem. Okay. These things are quite routine things you have to do. Torsional rigidity. Okay. Acha. You know what is stiffness? Stiffness is P by delta, no? P by delta equal to K. That is stiffness. You go back to your Hasselny days. What is stiffness? Hello?
So we were never taught stiffness.
You do not know Hasselny? You have not class 12. You tell me what is stiffness of spring. Was it P by delta? স্প্রিং দ্যাট স্প্রিং কনস্ট্যান্ট ছিল না, বাজে কথা বলছো তুমি। স্টিফ স্প্রিং কনস্ট্যান্ট মানেই তো স্টিফনেস। হ্যাঁ, বোকা বোকা কথা বল না বাবু। হ্যাঁ, what is stiffness? Spring constant is nothing but stiffness. That is, হ্যাঁ, F/x, তাই তো? Right. So here in torsion also, torsional stiffness is torsion per angle of twist. তাহলে কত হচ্ছে বলো? এদিকে এসো। Torsion is T, angle of twist is theta. So T by theta is Gj by L, তাই তো? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Because what is stiffness? Stiffness or spring constant, that is force by displacement or rotation, moment by angle of rotation. Same thing, the analogy. You have to understand the analogy. Force by displacement and moment by angular displacement, those are analogous. So you can get it. So stiffness is nothing but T by theta. So Gj by L, likhe now. Gj by L is torsional stiffness. Gj by L is torsional stiffness. And when L is equal to 1, then stiffness is called as rigidity. When L is unity, stiffness is rigidity. So Gj is rigidity. Gj by L is stiffness and Gj is rigidity, torsional rigidity. Okay. So if you come to this problem, a circular shaft diameter has been given, the maximum stress and the angle of twist they have asked for, the torque they have given, and the section and the shear modulus in gigapascal they have given. Giga means 10 to the power what? 9? Do you know?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. 10 to the power 9.
Yes. So if you have to be very cautious regarding choice of unit of force and unit of displacement. In this particular problem, they have chosen force in Newton and length in millimeter. So you have to convert this gigapascal to Newton per millimeter square. That you should be careful enough. So you can get the value of theta that you will get in radian, that you can convert to degree by multiplying with 180 by pi. Very simple problem, straightforward problem. This is also a very, very straightforward problem. No issue at all. This is a problem, as I was telling, that if you have two shafts, one solid and circular, they have to transmit the same torque and they have the same material. They have the same material means the tau max will be equal in both the cases. Is that not so? Tau max should be equal because they are of the same material. How much of permissible stress, shear stress the shaft can take, that depends on the material strength. So tau should be equal. Is it clear to you or not? You tell me. তোমরা কি বুঝতে পারছো আমি কি বলছি? We are going to compare the relative economy of using a solid shaft and a hollow shaft. And when does the question of comparison comes? When they have to transmit the same torque and they have to be of the same length and of the same material. So tau max should be equal. So you go through this problem and you will see that the solid shaft by hollow shaft, this ratio is 1.63. So the hollow shaft is much more economical. Steps shaft, very easy. Tapered shaft you need not study because that is never used in civil engineering. Here you see a shaft, although not stepped here, but there are number of torques. You draw the torsion moment diagram as I told. This is anti-clockwise. So if this is 1000, it is clockwise 1600. So that becomes plus 600. And then again minus 1400 like that. So this is the torsional diagram. And what they have asked for, the maximum shear stress and the angle of twist of A with respect to T. This thing they want. This is important. You have basically fragmented the shaft into three parts, AB, BC, and CD. For AB, the torque is minus 1400 Newton meter. You know the torque, you know the cross section and other things. You can get the tau value here. Here also you can get the tau value. Here you can also get the tau value because maximum shear stress, the formula of maximum shear stress is T capital R by J. You can get it. Now the thing which is important, they have told that find the angle of twist between A and D. That is quite important. See, if you assume that C was fixed, then this particular D, at D you have an anti-clockwise moment. So you can get the value of theta by applying this formula. Theta is TL by GJ. TL by GJ, that theta you can get, that will be anti-clockwise minus. But theta is actually not, but C is actually not fixed. Then you assume that B is fixed. So C, the torsion of the angle of twist of C with respect to B is plus TL by GJ. You have to take T as 600. Now B is again not fixed, but A is fixed. So get the torsional rotation angle of twist of B with respect to A and just add them algebraically. Just add them algebraically. I'm repeating. The value of theta, which has been given here, that is basically the relative rotation between this section and that section. So if this section is fixed, then the relative rotation becomes rotation of this end. But if this particular section itself is rotating, then that rotation has to be superimposed with this one. Exactly that has been done here. All the rotations have been algebraically added. Is it clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let us stop.
Sir, can
here.
you go through it once more?
I will go through it once more. Okay, I will do. I'll do that. Today is 18th. Now we'll be having the next class on 25th. Just a second. Yes, I will go through it once more. Sure. Say you have two springs, a spring AB and a spring BC. The spring A is fixed to the ceiling of the room. AB is hanging, B is below A, and again BC is hanging from B, C is below B. Now, if I ask you that what is the elongation of C, then what you have to assume? You have to initially assume that BC is fixed. You just calculate the elongation by P by K, but B is really not fixed. B is moving with respect to A, so you get the elongation of AB, and you add them. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
It is exactly analogous to that. Here you get angle of twist, which is rotation of D with respect to C. Then you get a torsion, a rotation, angle of twist, which is angle of twist of C with respect to B. Then you get an angle of twist, which is angle of twist of B with respect to A. So you add them up. Okay. You just add them algebraically.
Okay, sir.
Is it clear to you?
Yes, sir.
So please come after studying this portion. We will start from problem 8.1 to the next day. Okay. I had already given this book. I am sharing the derivation with you today. Okay.
Sir, can you tell us any problems or which problems we should practice
Yes,
from this
yes.
book
Yeah.
or any other you want?
Yeah. Here you have exercise. This book I've shared with you.
Yes, sir.
You just go from the books, problems from the exercise. At the end you have exercise. Okay.
Yes, sir.
আচ্ছা স্যার বলছি আমাদের এই সিআর ফোর্স আর যে বেন্ডিং মোমেন্ট যে ডায়াগ্রামগুলো আছে না ওইগুলো একটু বলে দেবেন মানে ওটা
So this chapter will be over. Like this chapter is finished.
No, no.
Only the
No, no,
questions
continue,
are- Okay, okay.
এনিমো শেয়ার ফোর্স পার্টটা তো সিওশন ম্যাম পড়াচ্ছেন, ওটা উনি বলবেন। আমি টরশন
আচ্ছা,
মুভমেন্ট
আচ্ছা।
ডায়াগ্রামটা বললাম, বুঝতে অসুবিধা হয়নি তো?
না না ওকে স্যার ঠিক আছে
আমি তোমাদের টরশন স্ট্রেসের ডেরিভেশনটা পড়াচ্ছি।
আচ্ছা
Thank you. So I'm quitting the class. You please take the attendances.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
All the best. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, sir.